Hey everybody, welcome to Linux Cast. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Drew.
Nate.
Okay, so this is the Linux Cast. We're going to talk about Linux distros tonight, beginners Linux distros. We're going to do a tier list. So if you're listening to this on audio, we're going to try to make this as entertaining for you as possible. We will also post a screenshot of the end tiers, the tiers that we end up with, in the show notes as well. That way you guys can actually see them once we're done. So you can reference them as you go along if you want. And just to piss War Thunder off in the chat, we're putting Linux Mint at the bottom because he got the trolling in right at the beginning. So such a useless distro. I'm just kidding. All right. Anyways, so we're gonna do a tier list, but before we do, we're gonna jump into a what I'm expecting to be a very short mini topic, and that is ebook or physical book. So I'm not actually sure if you guys are readers or not. So I chose this topic without knowing ahead of time whether or not we can actually talk about it. But Nate, if you were to prefer a type of digital media or physical media, which would it be?
Funny enough, I read on ebooks, but I collect old books, physical books, just for display. And then I'll buy the e-reader and read it on my tablet.
Well, the authors are getting good off of you, man. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, I'm same way. Drew, what about you, man? What do you prefer?
So we're assuming I read, okay, and upon that assumption, let's put it this way, if I'm choosing one or the other, I'm choosing physical book because I actually need to have something in my hand that I can go back and look at several times, which I could do on ebooks, granted. However, where's the love for audiobooks? Because audiobooks are a lot more my jam than anything else.
Yeah, I should have put those in there. But that's a good point. Audiobooks do count. Anybody who says they don't, they're wrong. All right, so for me, I'm kind of like Nate. Well, I'm like Nate now. I used to be all physical. It used to be that's all I'd use. But then the problem with physical books is they take up physical room, and I'm out of room. I have no more room. I have 6 bookshelves, and they're all crammed full of stuff. And I have the closet there behind me has a whole shelf above it, all full of the books that used to be underneath the desk. And I have drawers full of books. So I'm out of room. So I've had to go to completely digital. So I keep the books that are physical, as display pieces for the living room. And I have since basically purchased all of them in digital format and used Calibre to manage them. So, yeah. So I'm kind of a mix now these days. Anyways, so that was our expectedly short mini topic. Let's go ahead and move into the tier list. So I'm sure, given the fact that I'm going to be sharing my screen not only with you guys in the chat and watching live and with OBS, and then sharing it with the boys here, nothing is going to go wrong. Nothing is going to go wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share it with the guys. So this is going to take me just a second. So a little bit of
talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. I got to make sure that I actually get the right screen. The good news is I tested it beforehand, so I know which screen it is. I can't imagine what Nate's like. He's got 12 monitors, and he has to figure out which input is which. He's like, all right.
While we're waiting, though, never mind. Never mind. I was gonna say, I like, going back to the books topic for a second. I'm much more historical. I know that's probably shocking to Matt, but I actually like more history type books than anything else. One of my favorites is one of the George Washington books written by Chesno, something like that. Anyway, I think that was one of my favorite books of the last. I mean, it's an older book, but it's one of my favorite books that I've listened to in the last year. That was excellent. Chernow.
Yeah. I've heard of that one. The one I'm reading right now is Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World by Jack Weatherford. I'm just beginning it. And this is actually, you guys can't see it now because I'm not on camera anymore, but this is actually a physical book. I actually have this in physical, and so I'm reading it. Since I've went digital, mostly, one thing I've realized is my eyes are old as fuck, and you can't zoom in a physical book. These words are so small. Just increase the point size by 1 or 2. Yeah, you're going to have to use a few extra pages, but good Lord, man. Not for the old people.
everybody's doing history because mine is that I've currently started is the real King Arthur, a history of post-Roman Britannia.
That sounds familiar. Who's that by?
P.F.J. Turner.
I feel like I saw that on Audible. It sounds very familiar. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay. First off, just to know, if you're watching this live or you're watching this afterwards, yes, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to show you the logos. Yes, there are approximately 15 OpenSUSE logos. What I did was I have a folder with distro logos in it, and I uploaded all of them. And I have multiple versions of a lot of different distros. These are the things, if you see my video thumbnails, a lot of times I'll use a distro logo. Sometimes I need different sizes, so I know there are multiples. Just live with it. And yes, OpenSUSE has the most because that's my distro. All right. In the least prepared podcast awards goes to... All right. So let's go ahead and start off with... I think what way we'll do this is you guys will... We'll go around the horn. You'll choose a distro, and then we'll debate. So who wants to choose the first distro?
Go ahead. You go first.
Okay. I'll get the one out of the way. Linux Mint, where do you guys think that should go?
So, we're going as a new user. So let's base it on that and that sole thing alone, right? If this is only for new users. We're not debating its merit or anything like that, right?
Right.
Okay. So it's an S. It's one of the premier, to me, is one of the premier distributions for especially Windows users that are trying Linux for the first time.
Nate, you agree?
Yeah, I'm pretty much there. Most of my Windows friends, I tell them to start with Mint anyways because it works pretty well. So
they should put that on a t-shirt. Linux Mint. It works pretty well. The good news about doing Linux Mint first is we get Matt's very funny jokes out of the way. Okay. All right. Anyways, so
well, I mean, it's minty jokes, so
so I agree. Definitely an S tier for Linux Mint. So there was that one. Who wants to choose the next one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with So are we going with Linux Mint and then Linux Mint Debian edition?
Well,
is that even worth like discussing at all?
We can do that. Yeah, sure. So where do you think Linux? We'll use this alternative Linux Mint logo.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking it'd be less than the S, and I would give it an A.
Reasons why?
Because I think that it's actually there's more time in the polish being set up for the Ubuntu edition as opposed to the Debian edition. I think, and maybe I'm wrong about where I think their priorities lie. Even though I know that they've been, we read a news article fairly recently that said that they were getting it ready for kind of like hardware retailers, and that was going to be the Debian edition. So I don't know, but as of right now, I think that they spend a lot more time in their flagship as opposed to the Debian edition, but I don't, I could be swayed otherwise.
Nate, what do you think?
I'm leaning more into a solid B. And here's my reasoning behind it. It's kind of, you have an older kernel, so if you have people that are coming for gaming in general and trying to get away from Windows, I'm just going to recommend the Ubuntu one because it has a newer kernel and it'll work a lot better with Steam. For older hardware, it's an A. I would give it a solid A for older hardware that you're just trying to, get an office machine up and running. So to negate it for me, it's a solid B plus, but I can't put it in A.
See, my problem with LMDE is that I haven't used it in ages. So it's really hard for me to remember, like, is the setup the same? Like, how is it in terms of, because the way I remember is that they're pretty even in terms of what they are. Like I know, Drew, you looked at it from a development standpoint. From a usability standpoint, it really seemed to me that they're pretty even. I don't know if either of you guys, Nate, you've probably used it.
I have it right now. Yeah.
Is the usability basically the same as it is the standard edition? Like I said, I don't know.
It's close, but they're missing some of the tooling that the standard Linux Mint has that is more friendly to new users. And like I said, not that you can't get it, but you're going to have to learn how to do backports in order to get like a newer kernel or anything like that, to get it to where, like say I'm a gamer, obviously. By the way, I released a video like a few minutes before this podcast. So, but a part of it was that I was showing off some of the old games that I have. And yeah, in order to get that to work, I would have to update the kernel in this one. So yeah.
So how do we?
I'm willing to back off and go with the B, because if I'm looking at the chat, and the chat seems to be, I think, a little bit more fair about it, and it says A or B, so I'm willing to just go B at this point.
Okay, that's where.
I mean, if you got some Office machines, it's a solid choice. Just update your Office machine and just do normal work. So
definitely not my Dex distro, but okay.
True.
All right. So before we move on, first off, I'm sorry for not being prepared for this. Like I was running way late, but I should, just for everybody who's watching and for those later, this goes SABCD. It's a Gen Z thing that they do where it's S tiers like at the top, A, B, C, and D. It's in the row. So I just wanted to explain that it's kind of like letter grades, but it's not exactly letter grades. S is above A. All right. Nate, your turn to choose.
Okay, I think I want to shock everybody. I'm going to say Pop OS. I'm going to put it in the A tier for now.
Pop OS.
The shocking is that you picked it, or that you're only giving it an A?
Do what?
Probably that I'm only giving it an A.
All right, fair enough.
The only reason why I would say that, and I don't even think you have a Pop OS one.
It's right here.
Oh, okay. The only reason why I say that is because they are in this little weird limbo. So if you have a NVIDIA GPU and you're just wanting it to work and do production, it's an S tier because it will just work. But since they're in this little weird limbo of trying to get away from GNOME and moving into Cosmic, I'm going to stick it in A tier because it's still solid. I still game on it. I still, do whatever I need to do. But some of the packages are getting a little bit older on the GNOME side because they haven't updated it in forever. I think they're still on 29. I think that's what it is. Actually, I can look. Yeah, 29. So with that being said, it's a little bit older, and I'm ready for Cosmic to be released. And as soon as Cosmic gets released, it's automatic S tier to me. But right now, it's just an A.
Can I ask when again? I seem like I ask this all the time.
It's like a year.
2026 is when it's supposed to be, but I don't know the exact month or when or what section. I don't know if it's like, the first or the second or the third quarter. I don't know.
It just seems to me that they would have done a way better job if they split the teams in half. You know what I mean? Half of them just are dedicated to maintaining what we're doing. With GNOME, release another version of it, once a year, whatever the release schedule was, and the rest of the team go work on Cosmic. Maybe, Cosmic takes a little bit extra longer because there's not as many people working on it, but it feels like they've just completely abandon their project to go do this thing. Well, it's like everybody going out and building the barn while the house is on fire. Maybe a little over dramatic, but
well, I mean, they do have some developers that do maintain it, and like it's still 100% functional. Like it has a brand new kernel now, or I think it's like 6.12. They do a lot of the NVIDIA drivers and stuff just to make it work. So all that is still working, but they just got to get Cosmic out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What say you, Drew?
I'm willing. I think that Nate's spot on when he says it's an A, because if you're a gamer and you're trying Linux, unless your name is, what's his name, Linus or whatever, then it's no good at all. But I think if you're a gamer wanting to try Linux for the first time, it's got to be one of your two choices basically. And when a couple dings in that there are two ISOs, one for NVIDIA users and everybody else. I don't know that that's a good or a bad thing. And because I don't know that brand new users, well, if you're a gamer, then if you have an NVIDIA card or not. Okay, fair enough. But if you're just like, somebody else that's a brand new user, you might have to go look and it's like, I have no idea what video card I have in there. I might as well just start with the regular one, and you may have an NVIDIA card, in which case, I don't know what happens, but it just blows up. But regardless, I think that Pop is one of the more usable desktop environments to log into for a brand new user. I think that what they've done to polish GNOME is, because we're talking about right now, is very good.
Yeah, I think I can agree with A. I think Nate's right about the NVIDIA stuff, is that for whatever reason, they have some magic sauce that just makes NVIDIA work better. I wish I'd share that magic sauce with other distros so that I could use another distro and still have the magic sauce. But apparently they're not interested in doing that. So yeah, I'm okay with it being an A as well. All right, my turn to choose. I'm going to choose Manjaro. And I'm going to...
How did I know you were going to pick that? That's crazy. Okay.
And I'm going to actually think I'm going to be nicer to Manjaro than you guys expect me. I'm going to put it in a solid B tier. In terms of Arch-based distros, fairly easy to use. Compared to others, it's not easy to use, like compared to Mint or Pop. But I think that it does set itself apart in being at least trying to aim itself more towards newer users. But it doesn't quite reach the levels of Linux Mint. So I would put it at a B tier. What do you guys think?
I hate to agree with you about everything here, because I think we've been kind of like fallen into, yeah, I think you're right. But overall, for a brand new user, Manjaro would be one of the Arch-based distros that I can see a new user actually having some success and not regret picking. If you're just talking about a Linux user, I'm not going to give Manjaro anything but a D. If you're an experienced Linux user, I'm going to give it a D. But if for a brand new user, I think it works fairly well out of the box, and there's a lot to choose from, as far as spins. So, yeah.
Okay. What about you, Nate?
I can't. It's a solid low C or a D for me. Because there's two other distros. I'm not going to name them because we might name them in this, but basically there's two other distros I feel that are still a lot better for newer users, and I can't do it. Everything with side of me would say, oh yeah, new user, but even as a new user, I still would look at it and be like, no, I'd go with this other one.
So can we compromise on C then, you guys think?
I mean, if y'all want to put it in B, that I'm totally fine with that. It just... for me, it's a solid C.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, Manjaro is the best thing that's ever happened and all new users should use it. So, and you guys know my long-term, would be a good word that's nice, apathy, disinterest, scorn, maybe is a little bit more in line of Manjaro. But, I mean, it's not like it's the worst distro ever when it comes to a new user. And if you're going to choose it, you're going to be an Arch, if you want something Arch based.
Yeah, I would challenge people to actually find Arch based distros that actually cater to new users. This is, I mean,
Endeavor,
and I might say
and Kashi.
Kashi, I think I think you have a claim with Kashi, but I don't know about Endeavor.
Yeah, and Endeavor comes right out and says they're not for new users. So
yeah,
but it's pretty close. I mean, it's really easy.
I'll give you the C. Then I'm looking at the chat. It kind of looks like if you guys want to like put a ABC or real quick in the chat for the next 10 seconds, we'll take that into account. But I'm thinking C is fine with me, even though I think that B is a little bit more accurate.
Making a poll.
Would have to pick the controversial one. I mean, like I said, I don't care if y'all put it in B. If it was in my list, it would still stay in C because the logo's cool.
So it gets a bump up just because it's got a logo cool. So far, we got 45% on C. If you guys are gonna vote, you only got a few seconds because we don't want to spend like all day on Manjaro. That'd be a murder of the podcast.
Yeah. All right, we got 46% on C. Right, so let's
going once, twice, and three. All right, we're gonna go with C then. All right, there we go. There's Manjaro. Drew, your turn to choose.
Let's go with OpenSUSE.
Oh God. No.
D.
No.
D. No.
Well, okay. Admit something to me. Do you believe it is for new users?
Since I'm the actual only one qualified to answer this question.
I agree. That's why I asked the question.
I would put it on a C level with Manjaro. It is easy to install. it is easy to maintain, but you have to have some Linux knowledge. I don't. I think that that'd be true of Manjaro as well, right? You guys can. It would be okay, but you'd have to look things up. Like, whereas you could use Linux Mint and be fairly easy just on your way, because, you know, it looks like Windows, it acts like Windows in a lot of ways, you know, it has a lot of graphical applications that, you know, try to make a new user comfortable, right? Whereas Manjaro, you're going to have to, you know, put some research in. I think OpenSUSE is about there. But I would agree with you that it's not for new users, like hardly at all. So I could be talked into a D. Damn it.
I'm gonna advocate for a D, because I don't think it's even close to a new user distro. I think it's absolutely an experienced user's distro, 100%. And then we can really debate whether how good it is. And you know, you've done a 2-year challenge on this and have really enjoyed the 2-year challenge. And I think, you know, I'd be willing to give it a shot, but overall, as far as new user, no, sir.
I'm thinking about it more because of the NVIDIA drivers and how hard they are to fucking install. The fact that it doesn't come with codecs out of the box. It has to be a D. I love OpenSUSE and I hate to do it to it, but it has to be a D.
I was gonna say the media packet. The fact that it doesn't like give you all the Mesa packages to begin with out of the installer, that's a deal breaker.
I will say this though, when we get to Fedora, we have to be fair, okay? So all right. So we're agreeing on D. By the way, like Drew said at the beginning, we're not judging the distros just based on how good they are for new users. I don't actually think it's, you know, that level for you know. I can't say that.
No.
I got the sticker, man. I have to stick up with it. All right. That was yours, Drew. Like, so Nate, your turn.
So I think I'm going to. Well, let's just get it out of the way. Let's just go with Fedora.
Okay, where would you put it?
Fedora. So I have a love-hate relationship. I love to hate it. Anyways, Fedora, I would probably stick it in a solid B, maybe even an A, just depending on if they have an AMD GPU. Just because it does have some quirks that doesn't really make it 100% user friendly, but it's actually pretty solid and good enough to where, you know, if they have AMD GPU, they'll be fine. The NVIDIA GPU, there's plenty of tutorials out there that you can install it, and, you know, YouTube will be your best friend. So that's where I would stick it. Is probably I'm going to say A. I'm just going to leave it at A.
Drew?
If you asked me probably a couple years ago when I tried Fedora more than one time, I would give it C or a D for a new user, because even during my installation, I had real problems in installing. It could have been a hardware, it could have been a me issue. I just don't know. It just did not like sit right with me on installation. I did install within the last 6 months, I'd say. And it was a much, much cleaner experience. And so I would be willing to go B or A, B or A, somewhere in there. For a new user, let's just go B, I think, on a new user. I think that I think the installation is better than it used to be. And it's a good distro for experienced users. I just don't know how it sits with newer users. I'm kind of all over the place with it.
Okay, I'm going to be the odd one out. I think it has to be a D tier. I really like Fedora. I think it's great, but it has the same problem OpenSUSE has. Like, it has we sat here and dinged OpenSUSE for not having codecs out of the box. Fedora doesn't have them out of the box either. You can't play any music when you get Fedora. You have to add the third-party repositories. Now, they do add some of the repositories during installation. That has changed and made it easier. But there's still some repositories they don't add. Now, they do a better job of the NVIDIA stuff, so if you want to talk to me about a C level, that'd be fine.
You know, yeah, I'll go with you there. I think, and not to mention that, you know, because it's bleeding edge like it is, I think that maybe I want to back off my B and go lower than that because it is so freaking bleeding edge when it comes right to. I mean, they've taken Xorg out, so I'm not going to like that at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead, Nate.
I told y'all I love to hate it, so y'all want to put it to C, go right ahead.
All right. See it is.
Look at the freaking chat though, giving some Fedora love.
Yeah.
35% in the S&A. All right.
Yeah, you guys are really, really hate us for putting it at a C when the vast majority of people chose between S, A, and B. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, my actual answer was A, but like I said, I love to hate it, so
All right.
I'm not gonna disagree.
That was Nate. So I guess I will go next, and I will choose Ubuntu. We'll just go ahead with Ubuntu. Am I the only one that's gonna say that this is not a good New Year's user distro anymore? Like, it just doesn't feel like something you can't point to. Like, and I'm talking about vanilla Ubuntu.
Yeah, that's. I think we had to, qualify that a little bit, because there are a lot of spins out there.
But
Go ahead, Nate.
I hate saying this with everything inside of me. It's still at least a B. Because, I mean, I hate snaps, but all the codecs you can install them right out of the box. There's so many tutorials on how to get Ubuntu working. It still has to be a B.
I'm going to go, I'm going to be very unpopular here and give it S or A. I mean, it's going to be S or A simply because as a new user, the amount of documentation provided for Ubuntu there's nothing else like it in terms of how easily you can find an answer to something. It has I think a pretty well curated list of packages that are installed. It seems pretty easy to understand right out of the box. If you're a newer user coming from either Windows or Mac OS, I think you have a fairly good shot at understanding what's going on.
I don't think it can be an S tier because it doesn't look like Windows. And I know people are moving away from that, but new users care about that. And it doesn't look like anything else they've ever seen before. So I don't think it'd be an S tier. I would quibble with A tier as well, simply because of their lack of interest in developing it. But that's not a new user thing that new users don't care how well it's developed. They just...
Well, and they also don't care about snaps either. They don't care that, because they just want something to work, so they'll just use whatever package manager that's there.
They're going to go to the software center, and they're going to go, that's what I want right there, and it's going to work. So, I don't know. I think out of the box. So, yeah, I can see where even the Ubuntu, like, Cinnamon is good in terms of like new user experience. So I know that we're talking about vanilla Ubuntu. So, but all right, I can go A for sure. But the Cinnamon version could definitely be, especially if you're a Windows user coming into it, might be something like an S.
Yeah. So for the vanilla version, we settled on an A, guys. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, it doesn't even matter if snaps are garbage. You're never going to hear one of us say anything other than that as well. But the truth of the matter is, for a new user, they don't know what the difference between a snap or a flat pack is. They just don't,
Or a dev package for that matter.
Whatever's there and it works.
And you guys made a great
so much the better.
Point about the documentation, but it's even more than that. It's like if you go to Google and you ask for the best beginner Linux distro, the number one's either going to be Ubuntu or Linux Mint, and it will just depend on who's writing it, right? It's going to be one of those two. Like you could almost like each one, all three of us could sit down and write that article, and every single one of us could predict how the others would rank them. Because it's going to be one of those two in the number one or two spots, and it just depend on who it is. So there's a reason for that, even though it's. For us, old fogies, we look at Ubuntu as crusty, not well developed, maintained by a corporation that doesn't seem to care about the desktop anymore. All these things. Snaps are horrible. So everyone here who's watching, has probably been around Linux for a while, you probably have the same kind of views of Ubuntu unless you're an Ubuntu user. But if we're looking at it from a new user perspective, you have to think, how easy is it to install? How easy is it to maintain? Is there a large community around it? All those things just check. You know what I mean? So it has. Are we talking ourselves into S tier for Ubuntu?
No, I'm still solid at A.
We don't want to go too far.
No,
Right.
no.
The chat seems to.
No. Your point, Matt, was solid in that it does not actually look like Windows, for example, like the vanilla version. But if we are talking about the, like, cinnamon version of Ubuntu, then
Or XFCE.
I think we'd have an
Or even the
argument there.
KDE version one
It's
looks
Ubuntu.
like, yeah.
KDE looks pretty close.
So I mean, it's really, the vanilla one's really the only one that's out in terms of what the UI looks like. But I would argue that maybe that's not a bad thing, because it gives people the sense that this isn't Windows. You know what I mean? It gives them if it looks too much like Windows, they'll have expectations that it's going to function like Windows, and that could leave them into some problems. So the chat is mostly split on S, A, and B. Apologies, guys, for not being able to actually split S and A out. You can only put 4 options. So doing as best I can. But anyways, I think we'll go ahead and leave that as an A. So Drew, you get to choose next.
Let's go with Debian.
Ooh, okay.
I'd be willing. Listen, I would be willing to take the heat on this one, because I kind of recognize that it is not for everybody when it comes right down to it. I'm under no illusion otherwise.
Nate?
So I'm going to let you guys go, and you tell me what you think. What rating are we going to give it? Keep in mind that first of all, let me just say, I use the net install every time, but there are live installers out there. It's just vanilla everything. So is it for a new user? No, it's just not.
Nate, what do you?
But you and I can argue where it lands.
I don't think there's many arguing. Nate, Nate,
Yeah.
Nate, what do you think?
I hate the fact that he chose this. I was hoping that it would go all not, never be chosen.
Okay.
I have to put it in D tier along with OpenSUSE, because it really is not a new user friendly distro, even though it's the granddaddy and we all know it, and I run it, and like that little laptop back here that nobody can see because the way it is, but that laptop back here is running Debian, and I use my Vim scripts on it, and I absolutely enjoy it. It's not for a new user. It's just not. Even the graphical installer is still it can be pretty challenging for a new user. So I still have to put it at a D tier.
Drew, friend, my co-host.
You go for it. I put OpenSUSE as a D. You have every right to put Debian as a D.
I agree. I agreed with OpenSUSE, but the thing that I quibble with you the most about right now is that you brought up the ISOs, and I challenge you to go to the website and find one of those ISOs. You can't do it. It's impossible. No, even the Debian guys don't know where they are. Okay, it's like me the other day while we were talking, trying to find that damn USB cable. It's somewhere in the closet. You know you have it. You just don't know where it's at. Yeah. Their website is horrible. Even discounting how much more difficult it is to install than everything else on the list and maintain. I don't even think. I think if they had I think if the Calamares installer was forefront, like they have a Calamares installer for many ISOs, like you can go get one. If that thing was on the front page, Debian could be a new user distro. But their website is terrible, and their installation of their main ISOs is old and not easy to navigate. But if it had the Calamares as the default, Debian could be, because once you get it installed, I think Debian is very easy to maintain and just be stable on, steady as you go. Maybe it's not as put together as something like Ubuntu with the snaps already built in, or Fedora with Flatpak or whatever. But I think in terms of, I think it could put it up there with LMDE even, right? Because LMDE is basically Debian, but with a better installer. So,
And more
well,
codecs.
more codecs, but yes, but still, you could
and a modified Cinnamon too. I mean, let's not if you're a new user and for whatever reason you get the, let's just say, the XFCE version of the live installer for Debian, you can get it done. You can install it. It's going to look like you step back in time, frankly, and it's not going to look nearly as good as Ubuntu, the XFCE version of Ubuntu. It's just not. And, no matter what you do with GNOME, there are no extensions installed. There is nothing,
Yeah.
And so it's going right out of the box. Debian is not for new users, period. And I acknowledge that fully. It is a D tier for a new user. And I don't really think and I hate to say that, but that's just the truth. I mean, because you're going to look at, if I'm a new user, and I install one of these desktop environments, and I'm going to go, what? Well, I mean, what do I do now? Because this is unusable as it is, unless I know exactly how to modify GNOME or KDE or XFCE. So it's just not for a new user.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that, sadly. But Drew, you know what I've taken out of this? You and I use the real distros, while Nate uses the kitty distro. I'm just saying, his is all the way up there for the new users. It's obviously
It's
something.
funny because in the chat there was something very similar, just like, oh, okay, Linux Mint is the training wheels.
Oh, I saw that
distro
at the
or
beginning.
something.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I have Pop! OS, Arch, and Debian installed. So
Okay.
now who's using
Well, I'm
training
just-
wheels?
No, I'm just. You're not a new user though, Nate. Not even a little bit. So
All right. I had to get a little trolling in there. It just had to happen. I think it's Nate's turn. Nate's to pick.
Yeah, can you scroll down a little? I want to look at some of them and see what you have on the list.
If there's one you want to do that's not on the list, just let me know and we can add it.
I think CashOS is the one I want to do.
Why don't you guys start talking, and I will go find the logo.
So I'm going to put it as, for a Arch-based distro, especially if you're a gamer, I'm going to put it at S tier, personally. They also have their tools that they have that you can kind of learn how to do. And for Arch-based distro, it's pretty solid. I installed it, played around with it a little. It's pretty good. It's really easy. There's a lot more tutorials about it now, and I think it's an S tier. And it does work pretty well with NVIDIA GPU.
all right. Well, I know nothing about it. I'm gonna really have to rely on you guys to tell me more about it. I know absolutely nothing about it, other than I think D-Dubs was trying it the other day, and he thought it was good. I think I don't even remember, frankly. So yeah, I'm gonna be when I was distro hopping, I definitely would have given it a shot. I'm just not up to speed on this one.
Actually, got to find a damn logo that is not like an SVG, so it shows up in the damn things. This is not great. So, Nate, tell us more about CashOS, would you? Because I don't know a lot about it either, to be honest with you.
So, obviously it's based off of Arch, but one of the biggest things that they have, some of their tool sets that you can use, it's pretty stable. Like, you can choose KDE, you can do GNOME. I wouldn't do XFCE. That'd just be kind of dumb at that point. But yeah, there's quite a few things that you can do. The biggest thing for me is it's easy to install. You can get it up and running pretty quick. You can get codecs really easy. It does, pull from the AUR if you want it. Anything that you can do on Arch, you can do on CashOS. And I know that people say, well, why don't you install Arch? Because yes, the Arch installer's a little easier, but this one is more already set up for a new user. So if they're wanting to get into Arch itself, they can literally install this, be in a desktop environment, and boom, they can get started. And you can also, if you want to do window managers, you can install that pretty quick. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. And that's kind of been the new thing that people have been going to, especially if they're coming from Windows to go into gaming. And that's just because a lot of people, they have the 4090s, they have the 5090s, NVIDIA GPUs, and you need that latest kernel. Arches kind of always have the latest kernel. So
before we move on, guys, a whole bunch of people just joined us. We are not ranking distros based on how good they are. Okay, so that's the reason why like Debian is at the end. That's why OpenSUSE is at the end. This is based on a perspective of a brand new Linux user. So I saw a couple of people ask like, why is Fedora C tier? Okay, it's C tier because we're basing this on a perspective of a new user. So if you weren't here from the beginning, stop now, go back to the beginning, listen to the whole thing. Okay, don't just start in the middle of something. Okay. Anyway, so Nate, you're probably going to be the one that has to rank this. Where did you put this? I'm sorry, I was busy finding the logo.
I put it at S tier because just based on solely I'm gonna base it off just as gamers because that's usually what it's really been used for. It's pretty solid. It's a really solid distro, and like I said, the video drivers work. AMD works out of the box. You can get it going. There's more and more tutorials that you can watch to get stuff going. I know that like Wayland, I've actually had less stability issues with Wayland on CachyOS than I actually have like installing it on, I don't know, Fedora and using GNOME or something. Like it's pretty good. I really recommend both of you just kind of look at it and give it a try, see what you thought. But yeah.
All right, hold on.
Okay, so I actually, here's the funny thing. I used it the other day to install Gentoo. So that's the live ISO that I had on hand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
remember watching
that was CachyOS. I think I called it CrunchyOS at the beginning. By the way, pretty that's how good I did on knowing what I was using. Okay, my original plan, I had downloaded Kubuntu. This is just completely off topic, but who cares? I downloaded Kubuntu and put it on a USB stick, and that's what I was going to do because that's what I used before. But I could not for the life of me get it to work. It was just the slowest thing ever. So I had to use what was on Ventoy, and that's the reason why I use CachyOS. So there you go.
So does it? I'm gonna assume it has like a software center because for new users, that's where it's at. And does it use the AUR? How does it like approach software installation? Because that to me is really relevant when it comes to new users.
Again, I'm sorry. I'm replying to somebody. Okay, I'm going to reply like this. Somebody said gamers are not usually new users. They're usually power users, even on Windows. That is not true. Because if you knew how many PCs I have to repair that are from people that are gamers, they are not power users at all. Anyways, what was your question again?
The question is basically, for new users, this software center, it seems to be more of a kind of like must-have and how good it is. And so does Cachy have a software center? Does it use the AUR? Or does it just pull from the Arch repos, or does it use Flatpaks, or how does it handle its software?
It does have a software center. Hold on. I'm going to have to look at it because I can't think of it off the top of my head exactly what it is because I did uninstall it.
Oh, all right. Well, I was... That's cool.
Well, I mean, you got to understand too. Like, I know it has a software center, and I know it pulls quite a bit from Arch repos and from the AUR, but you can also do Flatpaks. Like, there's a couple different things that you can do.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest ones too, and the reason why I say this is because I actually was using some Flatpaks, and I got Steam working, which was a miracle within itself to get a Steam Flatpak working.
Does it use? I'm sorry, Nate, to interrupt you. Does it use Octopi?
Yes, I think so. Okay,
it can't be S tier then. I'm sorry. I'm vetoing.
Well, let me double check because
that's what they're telling us in the chat. That's the reason why I asked. I didn't. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I still think that's right, but
okay.
I still would put it at S tier, just personally.
I have to mark it down to a B because Octopi is the single most. It's like the Arch version of the Synaptic Package Manager. Okay, it's not new user friendly like at all. And Drew's, I mean, unless you disagree, Nate.
I mean, I like it personally, but
okay,
that's just me.
Well, let's put it at an A, and we can compromise a little bit, and we'll mark it down because it uses Octopi. Because I'm actually thinking about, would you guys have a problem with us taking Manjaro down to a D tier? Because I've been thinking about this. Their software center is atrocious, no matter whether you're using GNOME or KDE. Now, I haven't used Manjaro, so maybe they've changed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for new users, that is something that has to be considered. How are they getting getting their software?
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move this down to an A. We're gonna discount Manjaro too because it's just not. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna use like octopi, you have to be. It's not a good thing. Now, yes, KDE Discover does exist. I think it's on both of them, so they only go down a spot. But because octopi runs as a daemon in the background, so it's going to tell you that's where you're supposed to do your updating from. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never been successful with octopi, like ever, like not a single time. So maybe I'm just being a little harsh. And if you guys think I'm being too harsh, you can let me know. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. If we need to edit that later on, we can. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just do Arch. Where do you guys think regular Arch is on this list? We all know, but we might as well just do it. Drew, where do you think it goes?
How does it? I mean, it's on the same level as Debian. Frankly, I mean, it's got to be. Even though, I think Arch install has made it easier for people to install Arch. The fact of the matter is, it's still a TUI, unless I'm mistaken.
No, you're right.
It's still a TUI that has to be used. And if you're using a TUI, it's not right there puts it in a D tier for a new user. Not to mention,
I wish it was an F tier.
Well, yeah, it might be worse than that. Yeah. Not to mention, I think, from a stability perspective, you're going to have a problem. It's just not set up for new users. Like OpenSUSE, like Debian, it's a great distro. It's just not for the newest user.
Okay, I'm sorry. Lord Devi, Arch is easily the best new distro. The documentation is unparalleled. Good luck finding what you need in all that mess of documentation.
Without knowing what to search for.
Let alone the packages. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, the thing that is interesting to me is that Arch is actually gaining a lot of new users because of Hyperland. And that is strange to me, especially if I mean, I'm not a gamer. I don't know if any of those Hyperland users are gamers as well, but there's a lot of people moving into, that are starting with Arch so that they can run Hyperland. And cool, that's great for them. It's got to be problematic for them to start from, and I'm sure they're younger kids, so they're probably a lot more adept to just technology in general. But if you're like a 40-year-old man starting and wanting to use Linux, and Arch is not for you. Arch is just not for you.
I think that Arch still has a cool factor, despite the fact that it's not hard to install anymore. Also, there's this if people Google what does the Steam Deck run, and they're going to find out that it's Arch. They think, well, if the Steam Deck uses it, why can't I? Right? And I mean, there's some truth. Arch isn't as hard as some people make it out to be, but it's not like fluffy pillows like Linux Mint. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, I don't know, if you like a mountain biker or something like that. There's different levels of trails based on like, how difficult they are. Where Linux Mint's like the easiest. It's just a hill. You know what I mean? Like there's no rocks in it. You're just gonna go down. You're gonna go wee. Arch is more along the other end of it, where there's some trees in the middle of the way. You got to swerve, and there's rocks and shit. You got to move around.
And 4 buildings and a warehouse and 15 cars. So let me just say, I'm going to put it in a D tier, but I'm not calling the guy out that made the comment. I'm just saying that for a new user, no way. It's not even remotely. The great thing about Arch is the Arch Wiki and the AUR. The worst thing about Arch is the Arch Wiki and the AUR.
Well, I mean, because I was thinking about this earlier while you were talking about the Arch Wiki. Good luck. You said good luck finding stuff. It's like a brand new user who's never used Google before, but doesn't know what they're wanting to search for. They just know that Google exists. You know what I mean? You can't find something unless you know what to search for. And it's hard because you don't know if you're a new user, you don't know what the terms are. You don't know what's wrong and how to fix things and where to find that kind of information. Plus, you got to be able to find stuff. Like I think we talked about this on this last lug, because we talked about support. If you searched through Google for an Arch problem, the results aren't going to give you the Arch Wiki. They're going to give you some, Stack Overflow or, their AI nonsense or whatever. So I mean, it's just it's really hard to say. You want
Two
for those
things,
of
by
you
the way.
who
Oh, sorry,
go
Mac.
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so two things. One is, I mean, those of us that are, those of you guys that are participating in the chat, I appreciate you saying how old you are and that you're using, like Hyperland and stuff like that. Consider a new user. I don't know if you guys are here. If you're here, by the way, of 177 people that are currently watching this stream, thank you. And I would be curious to know how many of you are, let's just say, new users. Let's say you're new within the last year. And for those of you that are just good job. And if you're like in your mid 40s and starting to use Linux and you're using Hyperland and this is your first year using Linux, awesome for you. I'm going to be 60 this year. And, I recognize that I may not have the same kind of like needs as far as many of you have in terms of like new user experience. And maybe I'm always thinking, if I'm a new user, let's just say you're a 20-year-old or a kid in a kid in college, for example. Arch just can't be that distro for you. It just can't. But if you're a year into your Linux journey and you want to give Arch a shot, I think that you're much more prepared at that point. That's just my point. I don't think that I said the age thing. I kind of want to backtrack off of that a little bit.
Well, I can't say anything about age because every time I say something, I get considered ageist. Because people look at me and say, like, "Wow, Matt's so young, dude. I'm 40." Also, can we just point out that Drew said he's going to be 60 years? You're such an old man, Drew.
I know, you ain't lying.
But you look fantastic for your age. All right. I what I was going to say is I think that the people who are talking about Arch as a new user distro are probably more techie types. Like we're not saying that Arch is impossible for a new user to install. Like it's not. It's much easier now than it used to be, for sure. So you could, if you are a very tech-minded person and you're willing to follow instructions and look up in tutorials and stuff like that, you're gonna have a much better time. What I would ask you guys that are proclaiming this is a new Linux or a new user distro, would you put this on your mom's computer? Okay.
That's fair.
If you'd have your mom or your sister or your grandmother use this distro, then maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's S tier and it's just the best new user Linux distro ever, like one person said. Or just try to put yourself in that perspective, because chances are, if you did start on Arch as a new user, your abilities outrank the vast majority of new Linux users, and that's not putting them down. It's just that Arch is what it is. It's and there's the same reason why. I mean, we don't even have to discuss Gentoo. Okay, Gentoo goes down there too. All right.
I don't know that Gentoo even gets to D, bro.
I know, but I mean, that's all we have for it. Okay, it has to go down there. If someone came out here and said Gentoo is a great new Linux distro, I would say it took me 3.5 hours last night to install it, or the other night to install it, and I didn't even get a desktop environment yet. Like, I'm not there yet. So. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, who I chose Arch, right? So that means it's Drew. Your turn.
Elementary OS.
And your argument for where it goes.
My argument goes. So let me ask it this way: if you are a Mac OS user and you want to switch to Linux, is Elementary the best?
No.
No.
It's Pop.
Okay. All right. So is it? I mean, I'm going to put it up there equal to Pop then at A. Unless I can be well, I'm starting to be wishy-washy on this. I'm going to give it an A and see where the chips fall where they may.
Nate, what do you think?
I've never had more problems out of a distro than Elementary OS, and that's me even running Arch. I don't know what they've done, but since Elementary 7 that they're on now, it's been terrible. I cannot. It's outdated. I don't like the devs that run it. I can't. I won't even give it an A. I'm going to put it at a D.
Ooh.
If there was an F, or if there was a Z, I'd give it a Z.
Okay, so my problem with elementary OS isn't really from a new user perspective, and it's more that their development cycle is broken. And I say that because they had like 22.04 for like 3 years. So there's like an whole extra year where you were on an older version of Ubuntu, basically. Like you use it for a whole extra year if you're an elementary OS user. Now they do an update every single year, and they do some in between updates as well. But every single time it feels like they're behind, like way behind. Not like Linux Mint behind, but like way behind. And it's not as bad as my perspective is, but it is bad. Another thing is that they do not actually, and somebody's going to argue with me about this in the chat, but they do not enable FlatHub out of the box. They say they do, but they don't actually. Like I have screenshots to prove it, which is, it still asks you to press a link and then the App Store populates. So that still really bugs me that you can't just go into the App Store and download Firefox without doing something first. So I'm not going to say...
Yeah,
Go ahead, Nate.
Somebody said it right. Elementary OS focuses too much on looking like Mac as opposed to making it usable. And that's spot on for that distro to me. Just because it looks pretty doesn't make it a good distro.
But is it usable? I mean, I'm not debating whether it's like it's the best distro or anything like that, but is it usable? Can I transition as a new user and get my shit done on?
I don't think you can.
Okay. All right.
Just because of the repos are, they don't maintain it like they're supposed to. I mean, if you're going to do if you're coming from Mac OS, really, you can get Pop looking just like Mac OS within like a couple tweaks. That's it.
Sam, are there actually new users out there who don't want System D? Because I'd like to meet one. Sorry. That made me giggle. I would put it at a C. What do you guys think?
I'll compromise.
Yeah.
C, okay? All right. For those of you guys who don't like our list, go make your own list and then share it with us. We'd be happy to look at your list. These are our opinions, people, okay? Chill out. That's the fun of a tier list. We get to have our opinions. It's not like this is going to be like that. We're going to publish on the internet, and this is like the ranking that we're going to have for the rest of the year or something.
I think we need to separate whether we like it or not. I would never use elementary. I'm only looking at it from the perspective, and I think all of us are, from someone that is transitioning into the Linux space, and that is all. We're only looking at who is it for. And yeah, we can debate on if elementary is for anybody, but it is, and I don't know about the Pantheon, user experience at all in terms of like how close it is to what a new user would enjoy. Not for me. Okay. This is not, but we're trying to like separate our own opinion out and say, if this is something that a new user can like start with, a starter, a training wheel distro.
Yeah. I think our problem here is that we're trying to be objective, where asking the chat to be objective is like asking a dog not to gnaw on a bone. It's just not going to happen. So you guys can continue to be your judgy little selves. We love you anyways. It's just that, we're trying to be objective here and be not fanboys, because if we were just choosing our favorite distros, Debian, OpenSUSE, and Pop would be S tier. Everything else would be in the D tier. I mean, basically that's the way they would be. All right. Anyways, who goes next? Nate, is that you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you scroll down a little?
Yeah. Sorry.
Because it's one I want to trash so hard. I don't see Garuda.
Ooh.
And maybe you can find another logo. God damn it. God damn it, Nate. All right. Well, talk about your reasons. I will go look for the logo. How do I not have Garuda?
The reasons for Garuda, for one, it is extremely bloated. Don't ever install a distro that their ISO was it 40 gigabytes? It's ridiculously huge.
Is that right?
I think so. If I remember right, I think it's like 40 gigs. It's huge for an Arch ISO. That's just ridiculous to me. And also the whole Dragonized themes are just ridiculous.
You either like them or you hate them. You know, there's
And I'm on the
no
hate
in
side.
between there. There is just no in between. I do not care for them, but I've seen a lot of people that like those dragonized icons and stuff like that. Not for me, just not.
All right, so where are you gonna put it?
It's D for me.
Is Garuda even still updated? Like, I haven't heard anything from those guys in like forever. Like, do we?
Yeah, there's still a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't argue for it. I will say that I don't think I've installed it recently. I mean, within the last 2 years. So yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with you guys on this one. I don't. And not, I mean, one thing that I can say without question this, it is you either there is no middle ground here. You either love it or you hate it. And but again, we're talking about new users, so I'm going to say no. It's definitely not a new user distro. It's just not. And in fact,
Let me clarify on the ISO thing. Technically, I think it's only like 4 to 5 gigs on the actual download of the ISO. But once you start adding all the extra packages that they put into it, I think it's like 40 gigs of your hard drive that they use.
Yeah, it's a D tier.
Well, I mean, you don't have to download all those packages, Nate. Just because there's buttons there, don't mean you have to press them.
Excuse me, it's 30 gigabytes of storage space that you have to make sure. And it says, before you begin, make sure you meet the following requirements. This is off their webpage. 30 gigabytes of storage space. Are you kidding me? What are you, Windows 2.3?
All right. Well, I'm not saying I'm going to say it's not D tier, but I have different reasons in that I think because it's not aimed at new users. It's aimed for people who need the Zen kernel. And I think they have a pen testing ISO too, right? If I'm thinking of the right distro, they have like a penetration testing like called Black Garuda or something. Maybe I'm totally making that up, but they're just not. It's just not aimed at new users, and I don't think that they would disagree with that. They're not trying to be Manjaro, and we put Manjaro down here too. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's good. All right, so let's see if we can do like a lightning round, because we're at an hour and we still have to do Nuggies.
Okay.
So just shout out your letter for what I name, and if we need to argue about it, we can. Cinnamon Ubuntu.
I'm gonna give it an A.
Nate?
Or B or S. I'm gonna give it an A or S, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll settle with an A.
A. Okay, A it is. All right. We're going to look at KDE Neon.
Oh man.
What you got?
I got nothing. B. Let's give it a B because
Okay.
I mean, so from a user experience perspective, KDE is a pretty desktop environment that a new user will like right away. Can they? Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B.
All right, Nate.
I can give it a B, or I'd even say C.
I need you guys to agree on things so we can go faster.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Let's see here. Where are we gonna go next? Let's do Bluefin.
Oh, I don't think
For
it's
new
yeah, I don't think
users?
it's for a new user at all.
Yeah.
But I will give it a C.
Nate, your letter.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with Drew.
C. That's gonna murder George Castro. All right, NixOS.
D.
D.
Okay. All right. Kubuntu.
I'm gonna give it a B.
Okay. Drew.
I'm gonna give it an A.
I'm breaking the ties myself, just kind of silently. So if I don't agree with your choice, I'm just gonna that's the reason why. Okay. Let's see. I'm Linux from scratch. So we'll just do that one.
Oh, come on. There's really only two that we should really kind of like look at, and one would be MX, and the other one would be like I think Zorin.
There's three more for sure we got to do. So let's do MX Linux next.
I'd give it a B.
I give it a B as well, actually.
Do you guys have more to say about MX Linux, or you want to just move on?
I mean, the tool set's pretty good, so
Yeah,
I'd give it a B.
Yeah, I think that separates it from a lot of other distros. That tool set, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would be willing. No, I'm gonna give it a B. Yeah, I'm still giving
I
it a
say
B.
B is about the highest it can go because the installer's not as intuitive as everything else.
Yeah.
So, and the fact it doesn't use System D, so it has to have that tooling because it doesn't use System D. That's the reason why most of their tools exist. All right, the Linux Lite.
C.
Drew.
Yeah, I will go there. Yeah, B or C. I'm not really sure. Do you guys have? I don't know anything about its software center, if it has a software center, what it uses. So
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
yeah,
To be honest with you. Okay. Let's see where what was the other
Zorin.
one? Zorin OS.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to say like coming from Windows, Zorn is pretty close to
Yeah,
Windows.
I'm going to give it as close to an S. The only problem I have with Zorin is that
it's old.
It's actually confusing on their website to install. To me, it is a little bit. It's like, oh, do I need the Pro version? Do I need this version and something? So I'm going to give it an A because of that. But I think right out of the box, I think it's pretty damn good for a new user. What say you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say A as well, simply because of the it updates very infrequently. I think. So Nate, you agree on A? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's as close as the Windows as you can get.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Ubuntu, the XFCE version of Ubuntu.
So this is the same as Zorin, if you're asking me. So it's an A.
Nate.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with Spiral Linux.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to opt out. I don't even know. I don't know that one.
I never used it.
Okay, we won't rank it that one then. I'm trying to. I have too many damn OpenSUSE logos. They're taking over the. Peppermint OS.
I'm gonna have to put it as C.
Are they even developing it though?
I
Still?
do believe
They are, but the main guy died, and
Yeah,
it's just not what it used to be. I'd even be okay with that as a D.
I would put it as a D because I'm be uncertain about its development future.
Okay. Solus Linux.
I'm never no.
Yeah,
No,
that's a
thank you.
D.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna have some people there that are very upset with you guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I understand, but man, like,
All right. Are there any other ones on here that you guys are wanting to fight to rank that we have?
I don't see anything that I.
Oh, and
really
let's do
want.
Endeavor.
Endeavor's pretty damn good.
yeah, I would put that up there with an A, to be honest.
Well, to me, it's not a new user. I would put it more.
Yeah, but their community is so good
Yeah.
and so helpful compared to like Arch.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll say B, if that.
Yeah, I mean,
That helps.
when I look at this in comparison, if you're saying, is it the same as MX and Linux LMDE? That's a stretch for me, but I'd be willing to go B as well. But I think those two are actually more in line with a new user.
Yeah.
MX and LMDE.
Very low end B. I don't. It's funny that we're ranking it above Fedora. I think. It feels weird.
Yeah.
that
I
we're
want to. Let's have a reshuffle or something.
Yeah, let's put it down here. I think that's where it belongs a little bit better compared to the other things. Anything? I don't think there's anything else here that we really need to rank.
Oh, Slackware's right
I mean,
there.
Slackware's there. That's a D.
Yeah.
Void is a D.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't think anything else is there. So I think, obviously, guys, we were never going to rank all of the distros. Okay, that just was never going to happen. There's just way too many distros, and if we didn't rank your favorite distro, we're sorry. Also, if you've watched this, you're like, you've missed the multiple provisos we've put out there. We're not ranking the distros based on how we feel about them. We're not new users. We're ranking them based on how a new user would do on them. Okay, so if you looked at that list and you're like, the fuck is going on? Why is Debian at the bottom? I think every single one of them. Matter of fact, we did that exact tier list where we ranked them based on how good they were. I don't remember where we put Debian, but it was close to the top. So if you want to see that, we did that one. You can watch that one. All right. Anyways, we have Nate has to edit this week, and we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes, so we need to hurry the show on the road. So we're going to move on to the Nuggies of the week. Yeah, I know. Mint being the literal only S tier distro, very weird for this podcast. It's a very weird moment to be in. Anyways, the Nuggies of the week. This is the section where we pick things that we enjoy and share them with you guys. They can be tips, apps, whatever. So, Drew, your Nuggie of the week, please.
It's been a while since I've like pimped a Nextcloud application, so I'm going to go with Nextcloud Talk. Nate and I were doing a test fairly recently, or yesterday, in fact, using a Nextcloud Talk. And if you want some type of like kind of the same thing as here, like a Jitsi type experience in your own kind of like platform, the Nextcloud Talk is getting better and better, and you should use it.
Getting some audio feedback in my audio. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah,
so
it was popping and stuff, but it finally fixed itself.
I'm not sure what's going on there. Probably way too much stuff going on this computer. I'm recording Audacity, recording OBS, streaming to these guys, streaming to you guys. I'm surprised my computer has not exploded. So we made it through, so we should be good. So Drew's was Nextcloud Talk. If you guys weren't paying attention, it's an awesome application. Nextcloud is just like S tier, if you will.
Yep.
Nate, your Nuggie of the week, please.
So for me, I'm gonna have to read it off. It's Kingwin PC Computer Power Supply Tester, and it has a little LCD on the screen. And if you're like me and deal with a lot of hardware, especially like older hardware, or even buying some new stuff, you never know. If you want to test your power supply, because there's quite a few times that your power supply is the actual issue, you can put that tester in, and it will basically put out all the readings that you need to look at. You can look it up and see if that's actually what it's supposed to be or if it's not. And it's really quick, really simple. It does all the, 24 pin. You can just use it as 20 pin. You can, do your CPU check. You can do your PCIe pins. You can do your, oh Lord, what's the other one called? The old one. I don't remember. Anyways,
PS2.
But yeah, you can it has all of the plugins, so you can just plug in your power supply, turn it on, it will check and read it and make sure it's all working and good to go. So yeah, just a little piece of hardware, and it's really cheap.
Nice. All right, so my Nuggie of the week is an app, self-hosted app called damn it, Matt, it's called
Umami.
Umami. Yeah, Umami. It is the name of the app. It is basically, if you have a website and you want stats, Umami is self-hosted Google Analytics. Now, I don't think it has as many bells and whistles as Google Analytics. They're still developing it, but you can get in this thing. You can see real-time statistics. So if somebody's visiting your website, it'll show you, hey, somebody's visiting your website. It is private. It's secure, 100% self-hosted, and it is also in a Docker container. So if you're familiar with Docker containers, you can just pop this thing in and it just works really, really easily. Now, I run it in Picapod simply because that way it's up all the time along with the website and it's not on my main computer. But other than that, if you want analytics but without all the privacy nonsense that goes along with using something like Google, definitely recommend Umami. It's very, very good. So there's mine. All right. I think, guys, that it puts it in the bag. Anything else that we need to say? I don't think so. So let's go ahead and move on to the contact information. If you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do so is via email. The email address is email@thelinuxcast.org. You can send that to me, and if it's for the other guys, I can send it out to them as well. It's the easiest way to do so. If you want to find all of our other contact information, it's available on the website, thelinuxcast.org/contact. There you'll find links to Mastodon and Blue Sky and all of our Discord servers if we have them, and all that stuff. So all the more complicated stuff is there. The linuxcast.org is the best place to find all of our previous episodes all the way back to season 1. So if you want to binge all the way back to season 1, all nearly, what are we at, like close to 200 episodes, 150 episodes? I don't even know. A lot of episodes. There's a lot of episodes there. You can go listen to them all. I guarantee you that they're all spectacular. He says with a straight face. All right. Anyways, that you can do that at linuxcast.org. You can also follow us on our YouTube channels. Drew is Just a Guy Linux, as the t-shirt says. You can follow him over there. He does live streams and Debian installs and scripting and self-hosting and all sorts of stuff. Go check his channel out. Give him a subscribe. Good stuff. Also, he's not old. He's just stable. It's a great hat. You can buy that on shop.thelinuxcast.org. It is actually something that I'm selling. It's not just like one of one. So it's good stuff.
No, I'm the only one that has one of one.
I thought about marking it as out of stock. I thought that That would have been funny. All right. Anyways, Nate is on YouTube as well. He just published a video. Apparently, I thought about stopping the podcast to go watch it. I seriously thought about. Anyways, he's Nate Picks Tech World on YouTube. You go give him a subscribe as well. He does hardware related, open source stuff like that. So check him out as well. Also, lots of monitors. I'm sure there's gonna be a monitor related video sometime along. I mean, seriously, that you don't have a monitor related video on your channel at the moment.
Hold it. I am doing the history of monitors. So we're going to take it way back.
Okay. If that thing isn't done with like rolling lines through it, I'm just it's gonna be a travesty.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, obviously subscribe to LinuxCast, youtube.com/LinuxCast. We record this live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time or thereabouts if Matt's not running late, which, by the way, I'm always running late. So if you didn't, if you're running late too, you'll catch us right on time. Just a couple of small announcements. First off, make sure you join us live next week. We have a very special guest joining us. It should be fun. We're going to have a good time. No, I'm not going to say who it is. You're just going to have to come figure it out. No, it's nobody who's been on the podcast before. There's your hint. Not much of a hint. But anyways, join us then. If you can't catch us live, we do post the edited version, which is edited by Mr. Nate. Thank you very much, Mr. Nate. He edits out all the ums. Usually it's much worse towards the ends because the ums just kind of flow into Matt's speech. And it's always Matt, okay? I'm the only one. Anyways, you can find the edited version every Saturday evenings on the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcatcher. If you are listening on a podcatcher and it happens to be Apple Podcast, go leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help the channel and it helped the podcast and all that stuff. So thank you so very much. Anyways, that is it for this one. We do a lug every 2 times a month. So join us if you want to know the time. Join the Discord. Anyways. That's literally enough for us. We've been going for an hour and a half. We've got to stop. No more podcasting. We're done. See you guys later.
Bye. Ha, I actually said it.